I'm Ari Strum, and I'm a filmmaker.
Ari, thank you for taking the time to meet with us.
Always been my pleasure.
You want to tell us a little bit about your background and where you're from?
From San Francisco. My background, I actually started acting when I was young. I started following my brother's footsteps. He was an actor in high school, and so coming up behind him, I started doing that. He phased out, and I kind of continued on the path of performing. And then, I started writing short stories and stuff when I was young, and so I kind of continued on into writing and started directing. And most recently, I was working in the commercial world, producing and directing commercials.
So were you originally wanted to be an actor? Were you writing your own sketches and skits and stuff, playing with your brother, or?
No. Actually, I unfortunately never got to act with my brother.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was something that I always wanted to do. Never got the chance to do it. But growing up, we would put on little skits and puppet shows and stuff like that,
Yeah.
but nothing bigger. We never had a camera growing up, so
Okay.
I didn't.
You get the
I
chance.
didn't ever get the chance to do that.
Well, that's cool, man. So your main passion was acting, then you started getting into writing. You said how old were you when you started writing?
I remember in 6th grade, staying after school to use the computers at school to write a story.
Oh, wow.
It was this like fantasy sci-fi thing about a kid who goes to another planet and the planet's upside down.
That's cool. So you're always just thinking, always being creative, though.
Yeah.
It's just a story. So you grew up in San Francisco.
Yeah.
When did you move to LA?
I moved to LA when I was 18, when I was 19, and went to school out in the Valley and was studying directing and acting. I was double majoring, and I pursued both of them simultaneously, and realized one of the things that I unfortunately do is I spread myself really thin because I want to do a thousand things at once. And I had agents, and I went out on auditions and booked one or two things here and there, but I kept finding that it wasn't just about your talent. And I'm not saying by any means was I any phenomenal actor, but it was I remember I was up for a part, and it went to a friend of the producer's son. Or
Okay.
something along those lines.
So you found out early it's about who you know more than your talent.
Yeah, and the frustrating part for me was I didn't have a lot of say in my career. Whereas if you're directing, if you're writing, if you're producing, you have the opportunity to be more proactive. So I always told people that acting feeds a certain creative need in me, as does directing, as does writing, and so I loved them equally, but I don't act anymore, and I don't necessarily miss it because I kind of feed that need through other means.
Do you think being an actor first helps you as a director to know? Definitely.
Absolutely, because it's knowing what an actor needs, giving them those moments, either before the camera starts rolling, or I like to let the camera roll afterwards, because you find little moments afterwards that an actor will kind of, I think, instinctively throw in there, because they know that they've kind of fulfilled their duty in that arc of the scene or the moment, that something natural happens afterwards, something organic, and I like that.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
I always thought that a movie is 25% acting, 25% writing, 25% directing, and 25% producing. You know, to put 100% there. You've got the whole package. It seems like there. Do you feel that one job is better, more important than the other, or do they kind of work?
No. I mean, I've done a lot of jobs in productions. I've worked kind of across the board. I've worked in camera. I've worked, as a PA, as an AD, as a producer, as a writer, director, and actor. And so, having done all those jobs, you realize how important every single person is on the set. From the PA with really no experience and no background who locks down a street, or even a PA that's fresh out of film school and has done everything, to the producer. If everybody's not doing their part, it doesn't get done.
Right.
So I understand the value of everybody, and I've never thought of it breaking it up into 25% this, 25. I mean, everybody just does. If everybody does what they have to do and what they're supposed to do, then something great can come out of that. Yeah.
Oh, great. Now, what's your main source of inspiration? Where do you find that draw from?
That's an interesting question. I guess I could say that acting for me was about getting to be someone else, getting to pretend to be someone else. The things that I tend to write are more dark comedy with usually a bit of like fantasy bent to it.
Okay.
I mean, I grew up on Star Wars. I remember that Time Bandits would come on TV all the time, and I would always sit down and watch it. And to this day, Terry Gilliam's one of my favorite directors.
So that's more of your type,
Yeah,
okay.
And Vonnegut's one of my favorite writers. So those are very much in the same vein, that type of work. And even though I never thought of myself doing that kind of work, it always seems to come out in my writing. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the thing about, I guess, directing and writing is things that connect with you that are true, and what makes each writer or director unique is their perspective. You could have 10 different directors tell the same exact story. They'll all tell it differently,
right, which
is what makes a great director. It's their perception of the world and how they give it back to us.
Wow, okay. That's very cool. What would you say your biggest struggle has been out
here? Besides being my own worst enemy, besides the blank page, I mean, it's not an easy industry. It's not an easy industry to get into. It's not an easy industry to keep a foothold in. There are a select few, and it's talent and it's perseverance and it's connections and it's there's no formula for it. Like, there are all these parts that people can list off about who you know and what you do, and talent rises to the top and a whole bunch of things. But there's no set way in how anything gets done.
Right. So on that same point, have you ever thought about giving up?
I've thought about it.
What kept you going?
This is all
you have?
This is all. No, I mean, it's not all I have. It's all I. It's almost like it's all I know, but like, it's a combination of what I love and all I know and all I really want to do. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like I have to do this. I could go do something else, but it's what I want to do and what I need to do.
So you've been raised out here on the West Coast. You moved out. You moved down to Hollywood to be a writer director. You see these productions going to Canada, New Mexico, New York. What are your thoughts on the business moving away from Hollywood?
Yeah, we talked about that a bit. It's interesting. Being a producer, you have to think about bottom line. And then being a director, it's about the aesthetic. And one of the things, this idea of runaway production, I'm split on. Number one, there's the thought of if you need to shoot in an island, a tropical island, back in the day, equipment was too big. The reason why Hollywood was centralized was because you build a studio and you could create any sort of environment because the cameras were so big and the lights were so big. But now if you want a tropical island, you can actually go do that because everything is so manageable, and you can move equipment around, move lights around, move crew around, and you want the authenticity of it.
Right.
I mean, unless you're trying to get a particular false aesthetic or create some different kind of environment that is representative of that, but isn't that. But the idea is now, if you want a true environment, you go shoot in that true environment. But the other side of that, production's going to Vancouver or going to New Zealand or going wherever they're going, is purely a bottom line issue.
Mm-hmm.
It's money.
Right.
I think my opinion of where all the money goes in the film industry, I would love to see a shift in the business model personally. I think sometimes that we might benefit from a salary cap on talent.
Okay.
You know, where a production ends up spending a third of their budget, like $40-50 million on talent alone,
mm-hmm.
for 2 or 3 names. I would rather see a salary cap where they make a couple million, but actors across the board on a scale get points on the film.
Right.
You might see better films being made and have more manageable budgets.
They'd have more of an incentive for it to do better at the box office. Okay.
Yeah, because they're more invested, as opposed to taking a $20 million paycheck for something that they don't believe in,
mm-hmm.
think is
the wrong way of looking at it.
less than quality work,
mm-hmm.
but they do it just to get paid.
Exactly.
It would be nice to shift the model.
And do it just for work, and everybody gets paid.
Well, do it for the love of the project and your belief in the project,
mm-hmm.
which isn't to say that a big blockbuster that is all explosions and no substance won't make money. It will make money, but I think you'll find more people doing quality work, and it would bring those production costs down.
Have you ever? You've been out here for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
Have you met somebody who you thought, man, this guy's gonna make it, and all of a sudden
Travis Adam Wright. Yeah, I have a friend who I think is a superb comedic actor.
Mm-hmm.
He's done a lot of work. He's been working since he was a little kid, and he's the one person that I've always said deserves his own sitcom. And he has plugged away at it for years. And it's every single time you got to go in and audition. You got to read from them. He doesn't get the offers that I think he should be getting.
Right.
He's been in some big films, but he just doesn't get the quality work that I personally think he should get. And I always, whenever I'm kind of talking to people about projects or comedy stuff, I always have him in the back of my mind, like, oh, he'd be good for this role, or maybe I should write a role for him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think that a lot of that has to do with casting directors and package deals and managers and stuff now, or is it?
I have no idea.
Because I know, back in the day, they used to get offers all the time. Now everybody has to audition. It's like, do you see a trend with that, or is that just the way the business is now?
Oh, I mean, I can't speak on how it used to be versus what it is now. I think there may. I'm reluctant to say there might be too many actors. So many people show up here every day,
okay,
claiming to be an actor and having no real training except for the fact that they were the prettiest person in the small town that they grew up in and decided to come to LA to make it in movies.
So you think that person should have the same shot as, say, Matt Damon?
Who am I to say? They might be the next big thing.
But they're auditioning right next to Matt Damon.
Yeah, but Matt Damon gets offers.
You think so?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Matt Damon gets offers. He doesn't go through the entire chain. Obviously, he needs to. The director, the producers need to figure out if he really is truly the best person for the role. But he doesn't jump through all the hoops that someone whose name you've never heard before or someone whose face is kind of recognizable. Those people have to jump through more hoops.
Because we got a lot of mid-level actors on here, and we're doing a lot of audition. We're going to a lot of auditions, and these people have done 30 movies. They're sitting right next to somebody who hasn't done one.
Right.
And I'm thinking that this guy has a history he can show somebody, but instead he's still having to deal with this guy.
We all got to work for ourselves.
I guess that's the bottom line. Everybody's got
because there's always someone new coming along, whether it's a new writer or a new director or a new actor.
Mm-hmm.
You need to speak for yourself. A director can show their reel. A writer can show their writing. An actor sometimes is only as good as either that moment or their last thing. And so if you come in and read for it and knock their socks off and have never done anything before,
right,
you're going to get that job, hopefully, over someone who may have done 30 movies but just isn't right for it, or who knows a producer or knows the casting director.
Now, what keeps you going on that same note? What keeps
just
you?
A desire to create, to be a part of it. There's no greater sense for me than being on set.
So
being on set at the monitor, it's all coming together. I love it.
That's great. So actual seeing the movie come together then is the fulfillment of putting it down on the paper.
Yeah, my favorite moment is right there on set as it's happening.
What's your least favorite moment?
The blank page.
Just sitting there writing it, coming up with.
No, I like writing it. It's just that there are those moments where I get stuck and I can't get around it. I was just saying that I've had these characters stuck in this one scene. I feel bad for them. I feel like I have to write a meta scene for them where they can have a conversation about how they've been stuck in this one scene
right.
while I'm off, trying to, in my head, to justify them moving to the next scene or moving the script on to another beat.
So you're probably your toughest critic then. You're looking at this and saying, we can't move on, right? Is that what you're...
Yeah, I think there needs to be something. There needs to be some sort of little moment that then justifies the next moment after that. And I have the whole thing mapped out, but then something will come up.
That piece of that puzzle, that's it, huh?
Yeah, or like another piece of the puzzle where you go, wait, I know I need this, but I don't know where it fits, and therefore I start working backwards.
Right, yeah. So the whole creative process, just bringing those little pieces and then making that whole project is... I don't know where we're going with that. I'm the same way. That's
Look,
why
I don't think
things.
there's any the hardest thing. Trying to get a finished script bought or placed or get financing for it, and then getting a studio involved. There's hurdles at every step.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Where do you see Hollywood going now in the next 5-10 years down the road? Now you've been out here, you've worked here, you've submitted things, you've made things happen, and you've been told no.
I think that we're going to move further along down the road into converging medias, where everything is accessible immediately. So on-demand content, whether it's film or whether it's television. The idea of I guess must-see television will be any time. There'll be a release date for a TV show like there is at Thursday at 8 p.m. But then from then on you'll be able to access it. And then with the 3D explosion that's going on, it's bringing people back to the theaters. But I think what's going to happen there is that might be short-lived over the next maybe 5-10 years until they perfect the 3D television.
Right.
And then all that media again can be consumed in your home. Because I myself have a 60-inch television, and I think I sit 6 feet away from it, so it's like being in a movie theater.
Right.
Thing's massive. So I don't necessarily need to go to the movies, but there is something about being in a theater.
That experience, yeah. Now you're with instant downloads and mainstream media. Do you see a lot of instant fame happening more so than people who maybe really deserve it? Like the Heidi's and Spencers around town.
Yeah, I don't understand a lot of that. People being famous just because you know their name, that they don't have really any substance.
Yeah.
I guess. I don't understand that. You know, our obsession with with fame. You know, I like the idea of the olden days where it was an actor does their job and they play that role and that's who they are. They aren't the other person as well. You know, it's actors these days they're selling themselves, not the movie, not
Right.
the thing, and it's not. It feels less collaborative and more about them and their identity in the public. I wish I kind of wish we knew less about people.
So you think maybe ego is the demise of acting?
No, I don't think it's just ego. I think it's the whole machine, because people are finding other ways to, I guess, cash in on themselves. So where you do a movie and then you show up at an event and you get paid to be there because you yourself are a draw, and you're selling energy drinks and you're selling,
Right. Yeah.
you know, shoes, and it's your own, you know, cult of personality. It's this person and who they are. You know, I mean, look at what happened with Tiger Woods. They immediately, the media latched on to talking about the brands that were jumping ship, those that were going to stay by him and those that were going to leave. But at the end of the day, Tiger Woods is a golfer. I don't really care about the rest of it. Yeah, I think it's a shame that, you know, he has this family and he's done them wrong, but it's like, it's none of my business.
Right. We're watching him play golf. That's all we should watch him do.
Right. I don't want my entertainment to be the consumption of people's downfall.
That's a very good point. Wow. That's cool, man. So, okay, well, we talked about Hollywood. We talked about it moving away. Now, you got the call today, and they're like, we're making your movies, but we're doing them in Vancouver studios, and we need you to move up here.
Okay.
You down? No problem, huh?
I want to make movies.
Right. So wherever
You
they're
know what
making
I
their
mean?
movies,
Yeah, wherever I get the opportunity to make my movies. I think one of the things you and I talked about was the idea that, yeah, there are these runaway productions going to other places and shooting out of the country and in different cities because, you know, there are tax incentives and it is less expensive. But then you think about the grips and the electrics and everybody in production who doesn't get to go. But you think about the other side of it is the director has to go, the producer has to go, and yeah, that gets bundled in to their deal. Obviously, they're going to get flown up there. If the below the line people can turn up as locals, it would be nice to be able to find a bridge for that, for all the people that have come to Los Angeles and aren't able to work because productions have moved. It comes down to either they have to move to those locations on their own dime, or there needs to be, again, a restructuring.
right. Well, what we find out is most of them moved out here on their own dime to move to the movies, and now they find out that they might have to move again to get back to the movie business. So that's kind of.
But we all have to go where the work
Right,
is.
that's
All
the
of us
point.
have to go where the work is.
That's-
And yeah, I feel bad. I mean, but it's not just happening in the film industry.
It's the musicians, the community, it's everybody.
It's not just the artist community. You have major corporations sending their factories out of the country because we Americans want things for cheap and aren't willing to pay for quality, and so things get moved out of the country, and you know, it's to our detriment because then the jobs go away. So yeah, it would be nice if Hollywood could find a bridge to keep all of these people who are local employed, not necessarily in LA, but a way to have them go with the productions. But it's hugely, it's wildly expensive to, you know, fly out a 150 person crew
Exactly.
to a remote location. It's
Okay.
unrealistic. You know, just from a production and dollar side.
Yeah.
It's unrealistic to fly out your entire crew to Vancouver so that you can keep those people working.
Well, maybe if we offered the same stuff Vancouver was offering, you know, we wouldn't have to fly them out. You know, maybe we could shoot the jungle scene, you know, down around the corner, or maybe we could go to the island over here and, you know, still keep the local people working.
But that's not why it's being shot in Vancouver. It's being shot in Vancouver because at the end of the day, it's just less expensive.
Right.
It's not the location.
No, it's not the location.
If you're shooting, you know, in Fiji because you need islands that look like that, it's because you need islands that look like that. You're shooting in Vancouver because it's less expensive.
Bottom line.
That's it.
Right. Yeah.
So that's the difference. There are crews that live up there now because that's where production is happening because of the cost.
Right. Yeah. You want to move to Hollywood, or you want to move to Vancouver? That's where we're going.
Yeah, or do you want to move to New Zealand or London or wherever other productions are happening around the world? Dubai.
Yeah, definitely. Well, all right. I think we've covered everything, man. So
Cool, man.
appreciate it, dude. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.